Hello again. So, somebody suggested that I do a review of the vehicles from the battle passes, or at least the ones I have. I believe I have all of them. And I figured that was a good idea, so yeah, I'm gonna do that. I guess I'll start at the beginning. Or at the beginning of my list. Or is this the end? I'm not actually sure. So, I don't remember which battle passes most of these were from. But, yeah, I have this one, which I think was from... Hold on. Was this from the most recent battle pass? Yeah, that was from this battle pass. So, this guy has 2 plasma emitters, the photon, a Colossus engine, and a stealth module. Chameleon. Now, it's generally not a bad build, but as you saw there, if my back gets broken, or if this module gets broken, the frame, no, it's attached by these 2 things, and they are not attached to the cabin, so you can move them forward slightly, and then they will be attached to the cabin. Then they themselves have to be destroyed in order for the legs to fall off. But the way they were before, if you destroyed all this structural stuff back here, the legs would fall off. Now, as you can tell, that isn't the case. If I were to move them back, and there goes one leg, and there goes the other leg. So yeah, with some slight adjustments, this build is actually pretty solid. It does have a bit of an issue. It cannot aim directly in front of it for decent ways, so this is the closest it can shoot in front of itself. But other than those 2 flaws, the build is actually pretty decent, and you can always move these up front if you wanted to, so that you can shoot in front of yourself. Can you please? Oh, that's why. Now I can shoot much closer. Oh, wait, this guy's too far. Yeah. Alright, next. This was from the one just before that. I don't remember. It was the battle pass with the Yokozuna, was it not? This one doesn't have the Yoko, right? No, this one has the shield. Yeah. So this was from the battle pass with the Yokozuna. Also has a Chameleon and a Colossus for Kairos. The Photon cabin again. And 2 Piercers and a Aurora. So this build is actually pretty okay. From what I remember, it did not have the... Well, yeah, I guess it can be cut in half, pretty much. Yeah, it can pretty much be cut in half. But that actually takes some work and effort. Beyond that, the build is actually pretty decent. It's 40 parts. you could fix the cut in half part by removing a few parts and then attaching it. You could remove a few parts, and where is the frames? Here. Yeah. Does it not fit? Hold on. No, it doesn't fit. Okay, so then one of these will work. Yeah. You could remove a part somewhere and put on that, like, remove that, and then, or even remove this, and then now you've got a build that no longer falls apart if it's cut in half. Because they'll have to cut the frame in half, and the frame is much tankier than the modules and structural parts. So yeah. Beyond that, this build is pretty good. You can change out the pierces for something else. They are not exactly the best, but yeah. Alright, next one. I don't have much to say about this build as far as criticism. It's actually pretty decently well built. Now we've got this guy. This guy has a leech, and I don't remember what else. Does he have a turret? Yes, he has. Okay, let's just hop in and find out. He has a leech and a turret. So, this build is quite the opposite of the other one. It looks cool and everything, but it's actually not the strongest. The leech in front the leech in front is attached by one thing. Yeah. This front bumper. If that gets removed, the leech suddenly doesn't attach. Moving the leech further back doesn't help, because if you move the leech further... Oh wait, no, hold on. If you move it further back, it suddenly cannot shoot. It suddenly has a much shorter range, and it's still attached by a weak part. You can remove that part and move it up, but then you won't really be able to fire. So, pretty much, if you want this build to be usable, you kind of have to move the leech up here. Either attach it on top of the cabin or in front of the cabin. And then it'll actually be a lot more useful. Other than that rather significant issue, the build is actually pretty okay. And pretty cool looking. Next is this one. Okay, now, this guy, if I remember correctly, was actually really good. At least for Blueprint. This was from the Battle Pass that introduced the Corvus. He's got a... what is it? I don't remember what the machine gun is called. It's a Victor, right? Yeah. So he's got a Victor and a nail gun. Now, I don't have a Victor currently. But yeah. And this build was pretty cool. What I did was I equipped 2 nail guns as soon as I got a nail gun from the Battle Pass. And yeah. This build obviously is low power score, so it does melt. And hold on, that didn't look good. It's been a while since I played with this build. If I remember correctly, if you lose the stealth module, yeah, the main thing they're attached by is that stealth module. So if you lose that, your build, you lose your weapons. But other than that, it's actually pretty good. And a simple counter to that is just attach the weapons on top of the cabin, if you want to. Oh my goodness. Otherwise, you can leave them back there and just try and avoid allowing opponents to attack you from behind. But yeah, this build was pretty good. Next. This one. Alright. So this build I did not like very much, because you had to be facing someone directly or facing away from someone directly in order to shoot, and it had to be at a certain distance if I remember correctly. Yeah. Can't really shoot them from up close. Because that you had to be looking at them from behind. Yeah. Beyond that, the build was actually solid. It's got the 2 weapons attached to a module and back. Okay. Now, I don't have the weapons that were used, but what I ended up having to do was I moved these. Excuse me. Oh my goodness. I rotated them like this, I believe. Yeah, I believe that's what I did. And then I put the weapons on top. I don't have the E weapons that were used here. But yeah, I just put the weapons on top, and then it worked just fine. Now, other than the way the weapons are set up, this build is actually pretty good. The combination of wheels and cabin actually works really well together. It means you don't have to drive as fast in order to activate the favorites perk. But yeah. Next. This one. Now, this one for some reason had a radiator. I'm using an epic radiator, even though it will technically not function because it's too high level. Okay, never mind. I cannot use it all. But yeah, this guy had a radiator, which would increase fire rate and could be okay on these weapons, but not really the best option. You're better off with reload modules. Oh wait, no. Hold on a second. This build was running a reload module, wasn't it? Hold on. Yeah. Oh wait, yeah. It was running a radiator, not a supercharger. Sorry. I get the two confused sometimes. It came with 2 Pyrelights, which is actually a really good setup. And this build overall was actually pretty decent, except for the way the Pyrelights were set up. The way they're set up makes it a little difficult to shoot. you can move them forward, and they will shoot better. The cabin won't block them as much, but you're still going to have problems. What I ended up doing was I just flipped them over and put them on top. And that seemed to work great. I actually played this build for a little bit. It was pretty fun. It worked decently, but then I ended up making some other builds with Pyrolades, and I liked them more. Oops. But yeah, other than that, this build is actually really good. And with the reload module, that helps too. Alright, next. This build. Oh. This build has a hardcore engine and a fire rate module, supercharger, as well as the Huntsman cabin. And it had the Hermit wheels. This came with the adapter. This was, I think, Battle Pass 9 or 10. So this guy was actually pretty decent. But he was only, for the most part, decent because the adapter was strong when it came out. Now, this build is still not bad, but with its original setup, it's not exactly that strong. However, you change out the adapter for, say, another one of these. No. No. Or pretty much any autocannon, and this build can actually be pretty decent. Yeah. So yeah, this guy can actually be pretty decent, but not so much with the adapter. Though 2 adapters actually worked okay. It actually worked pretty well when the adapters first came out. But most any other weapon will work good on this. Yeah, I don't really have much else to say about it. Alright, next. This guy. I'm trying to think. I believe there might have been some issues with this build, but I don't remember. He has a turret. No, never mind. I think this guy's actually pretty okay. Yeah. Yeah, if I remember correctly, this guy was actually okay. I just changed up some of the weapons and stuff. I think maybe I was losing a module too frequently. Where are the modules? We've got this one and this one. No. They both seem okay. Where they're placed. Okay. So I don't remember exactly what was wrong with this build, if anything. It might actually have been just fine. But yeah. I do remember that wait, these things cost 3 power, yes. I do remember that I did adjust some stuff. I took off the... right, that's what it was. So I took off this. I don't remember what I had to do. I think I had to do something like that. And then I could put on, like, where is it? I don't have any Thunderbolts right now. Ah, this was the one that had this. So I put on one of those, I think. And I think I put on 2 Thunderbolts. I think that was the setup. But yeah. This build was fine. And it is pretty decent too. Looks cool. Doesn't have a ton of durability, but it seems to be the case with most of them. Wait, hold on. What is... This guy has 11k durability. This guy is 8k. This guy is 6k, so not a lot of durability. This guy is 7k. 4,000 as well. This guy also has 8,000 durability. This guy 5,000, so that's pretty low. This guy's 4,000, so far the lowest out of all of them. Alright, and now to the Omnibox. This is the this is the battle pass that I first ever got. This is when I first started playing. 8,000 durability. Now this guy came with 2 Victor machine guns. I don't have those right now, so I'm gonna just go with aspects because, yeah. Actually, at the time, I think when I did use this build, I actually equipped simulators. So this build I initially thought was decent, but one thing I noticed was it just got shredded pretty quickly. Apparently this guy has a high enough power score that you're going up against opponents that can fairly quickly and easily shred you with this build. So the build itself is fine, but the power score of it made it so that you're up against tougher opponents than, for the most part, this build could seemingly manage. Other than that, the build's okay. The build's pretty decent. This is just the same build again, since there's currently a replay of Battle Pass 8 going on. And then we've got this guy. I don't remember what Battle Pass some of these were from. These were all the ones coming up were from replays of old Battle Passes. So this guy has 2 shotguns and 2 hatchets, as well as the Tusk Cabin. Now, this guy was fairly small, and I guess kind of cute, I guess? I don't know. But he does have one small flaw, if I remember correctly. He's okay, but if I remember correctly, he used to have some issues with rolling. It was somewhat easy to roll him. At high speeds. Okay, wasn't going to get much as far as rolling there. I was uphill, so... yeah. I believe this guy had issues with rolling. Actually seems pretty stable now for some reason. Maybe not. Or maybe he had more issues in actual PvP. But yeah. Change up the weapons on this, maybe the wheels too, and that guy's actually pretty decent. He doesn't have parts that are attached weakly or anything from what I remember. He's got this, which is... oh, right. Oops, not test drive. He's got his speed booster module, which is attached on top of his engine. But for the most part, this build is okay. That's not even terrible attachments. It's not like it's attached to some structural parts or something. It's attached directly to another module. So, this guy, I don't have the Thunderbolts to build him. So, I'm going to use... actually, Fafnir's won't fit there. That's a bit of an issue. I guess I'll just use jewels. They're the same size, but very different weapon. So this guy has one glaring problem. The build itself is for the most part just fine, except for one minor flaw. Yeah, those two front weapons are held on by a singular structural part that doesn't have a lot of health. This piece. So, right, what I discovered to do with this build was I had to switch some things up. Take this out from back here. Put that in there instead. Just literally switch these around. And then, everything was fine. Ooh, these will work. They're something like shotguns. So yeah, once I switched those around, the build worked just fine. Obviously, that still could break off, but it was much harder because it was attached to a module. This build does not want to go in reverse right now. The other thing you could do is just move your weaponry up here on top of the cabin. And just leave that area down there entirely empty. But yeah, that build was actually decent with the exception of that one significant problem with the front of it. Okay, now we got these. So, I'm gonna start with my least favorite out of these, which was this guy. So, this guy, the build itself was decent. It has some good parts as well. And it's fairly tanky with 12k durability. However, it has one problem. It's running shotguns, and those don't generally work very well on a slow build like this. And it's running turret shotguns at this, or no, not turret shotguns. What would these be called? I guess turret shotguns. Yeah, they can't rotate, and it's only running 2 of them. These shotguns do decently, but yeah. You need more than 2 of them. And whilst it's doing alright here, that's only because the opponent I'm facing doesn't move. In PvP, this build hardly ever worked, unfortunately. However, having the parts is still nice. The parts that come with this. So yeah. And you could always take these off and use different weapons instead. He does have attachments on the top of the truck. And it would work alright, but beyond that, at default, this build is actually pretty bad. Not even due to the weapons and stuff that are being used, but the combination. It does not work well with that cabin or that kind of build. Alright. I'll do this one next, even though I don't think this was my least favorite at all. I think this might have been my second most favorite. This build was actually pretty strong. Now, one thing I will say is the way this build is set up is not exactly ideal. If if I remember correctly, what I had to do was I took this guy and put it on... I don't remember if I put it on here or on the engine. I think I put it on here. But yeah. So this build has a Chameleon and the Golden Eagle engine, which at the time was actually quite an expensive engine to obtain. So this was a really good Battle Pass vehicle. At the time that this Battle Pass was replayed, because when it first came out, I wasn't around. But yeah. Now, this build works better with other weapons, higher rarity, but it works decently well with these as well. And yeah, it's fast enough that you can hit some jumps and charge up the perk. You can just go into stealth in a PvP match, find a jump to hit. Now I've got 38 charges, and that means I'm doing 38 more damage, now 40. Or 38% more damage. So yeah, this was actually a really good pack. Or, not pack, Battle Pass blueprint. Alright. Next is this one. Now, I don't have the weapons that were used, so I'm just going to use 2 Prometheus. If I can find them. Alright. Now, this build was decent, if I remember correctly. It didn't have weak points that fell off. Okay, well, I suppose that's a bit of a weak point. If that falls off, that's kind of a problem. Oh, it has an APC panel. I didn't remember that. An APC roof panel. And those are good. Okay. So as far as wheel attachments, it could have some problems. But it was generally pretty good. I didn't actually have much problems with this build. One thing I did find out, however, is you can delete that and replace it with this, and it works just as well. When I did that, I actually moved these slightly forward so they were attached to the top of the cabin. Oops, not that. And this setup works even better because now you have the overheat. And though it wasn't in the game at the time, you could even equip one of these. Granted, there is the parts limit thingy, but just remove the fuel canister. You don't need it on an electric engine anyways. But yeah. So this build was decent. And if I remember correctly, it actually did pretty well in PvP. Even with the rare version of the Prometheus. It's got 9,000 durability. One thing I did not check was how much durability the Wyvern build had. 7,000. So that guy's much lighter. Alright, and lastly is this guy, who is probably my favorite out of all of these. So, out of all of these builds, this one was probably my favorite. So, this guy was very versatile and very decent. How much durability does this thing have? 10,000. It was a strong build, vehicle. You could always move this part out of the way if you needed to, or even remove it. What I would do is I would attach one of these here, and I don't have one right now, so I'll use an aspect, but I would attach... No, I don't have... No. I would attach an arbiter down here, so since I don't have one of those, I'm going to equip the next best thing I have, which would either be a fidget or this guy. I'm going to equip this guy for the extra speed. But yeah, I would run a build like this, but instead of having the piercer, I would have an arbiter. And I believe I would have a different module as well. I wouldn't be running, where's this module stored at? Hold on, what was that? Right in there. Yeah, I believe I was running the rare reload module, which I don't currently have right now, but yeah. Yeah. This build was pretty decent and versatile, and you could run it with different setups. Like, instead of this, you could run, like, rockets. Like, I believe I ran, at one point, I ran Pyrolades, and what's the rare version of this guy? No. What was I running? 8, 9. Oh. So you could run 3 of these. Granted, there is the parts limit thing again, but you could just remove something. But yeah. I believe I made a video with this build where I just ran different setups on it to see how it worked. Yeah, it works pretty decently. So yeah. Oh, wrong place. Those are all the Battle Pass blueprints. Or at least all the ones so far. I hope you enjoyed, and I will talk to you next time.